Peace and blessings, and welcome to another edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I'm your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I am a minister, author, spiritual life coach, and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves mind, body, and spirit. We are here for another edition again, and I am so excited about the guest that I have because we are going to be talking about relationships. So the title of this show is Love Never Fails. And the two guests that I have with me are just a wonderful example and the epitome of what love is. So, as customary in our How Now podcast, I'm going to have my guests to introduce themselves because when we introduce ourselves, we give people an opportunity to experience how we want them to receive us. So with that being said, I'm going to ask my guests to introduce themselves.
Absolutely. Hello, Kim.
Hello,
Thank you
hello.
for having us on the
Hey,
show.
Yeah.
We're like super excited about this one.
yeah.
Yay.
But I am Coach Starr Claiborne. This is my husband, I just call him Mr. Claiborne, but it's Mr. Anton Claiborne.
Yes.
And we are the co-founders of the Clayborn International Coaching Group. We are your co-hosts of the podcast Love, Marriage, Fantasy, which you can find on SoundCloud. And basically, what we do is we work together working with couples. We work with women, a lot of women especially, and just helping the couples and helping our clients really understand how to build healthy relationships, how to get that person that you really want, not the person that you think you want, but the person that you really want, and understanding how to do that while you're working together as a team, while also keeping and maintaining your own individualism.
Nice.
So that's who we are in a nutshell. We're also authors and we are speakers and all that good stuff too. So but
Wonderful.
that's who we are. And we are really happy to be here and help anyone that we can on this
Yes.
podcast today.
Yes. Well, I am excited. Anton, did you have something to say? No, I didn't want to.
No, she covered everything. So we're good. We're connected like that, y'all. So
See,
she
and,
did
and
good.
that's the
She
beauty.
was
That is
great.
the beauty. That is the beauty. Like I said, I am so glad to have you both here to talk about relationships, especially during this time. You know, it's called How Now for a reason. We're talking about how we're living in the now, and right now we're living still in a state of pandemic. And we've had some uphill battles, and the one thing with regards to relationships is that you know I think a lot of people thought that their relationships were pretty solid until the pandemic hit.
Yes, yes.
Then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute now, we're in the same space a little longer than we typically are, and now maybe not so much. So with that being said, talk to me about your relationship prior to the pandemic, and what happened once that pandemic hit. What was
Oh,
the dynamic like?
for us, there weren't any changes.
Ah,
We're consistent with our harmony. So
Yeah.
for us, we didn't have any issues with being around each other longer than we were before the pandemic, and the what's the word I'm looking for? The
That word right there.
yeah,
uh-huh.
no,
I don't know.
I can't find it either.
close,
Honey. Look,
close in. I'm
Oh, the quarantine.
yeah, the quarantine. Thank
yes,
you, thank you.
that's the
See,
word.
there you go,
See,
right there. There's another
teamwork makes the
example.
dream work,
So
baby.
yeah,
Right there.
before the quarantine, we
Right.
we were already well
Yeah.
connected
Very good.
emotionally, spiritually, physically. So
Okay.
after the quarantine, it was just another day for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
I think
were y'all both working in the same? I mean, were you working from your home at the time, or were you both working in offices or office spaces at the time?
Well, I had just started working from home
Oh, okay.
when
yes.
it started.
Oh, okay.
And I was in the office because full time I'm a regional sales manager for a hospitality company.
Uh-huh.
So I was constantly out and about, but I had the opportunity to work from home. But being that we were already entrepreneurs and still already living in that space,
Right.
being closer to each other, actually it helped us, if you ask
Right.
me. It
Right.
helped us more because I think we can say, like, just prior to that, with the hours that you were working,
Oh, well,
it was
yeah.
a few months prior to the whole pandemic happening. I guess
Mhm.
actually it was probably about
No,
a year before the pandemic.
it was a few months.
Okay, one of those.
It
But
was like four
our schedules
months.
were actually kind of off. So,
Right.
I was going in, during the day, and he was kind of overlapping with that noon to 11 p.m. shift.
Right.
So, he had just started working from home, so we were already starting to feel that. But having that entrepreneurship, it was something that we were already used to, of being around each other
Mhm.
in
Gotcha.
that space.
Gotcha.
So
So in a sense, it actually gave us more time to work together
Right.
as entrepreneurs
yeah, a
because
lot
I was
more
at
time.
home more.
Right.
And
Right.
then I started working from home too.
Right.
So then that helped as well, because I was able to work from home during the pandemic for a few months as well.
Gotcha.
I think I worked from home for about 3 months before they took me back into the office.
Right. But you see, and that's wonderful because, like you said, for you, it was an opportunity. You saw it as an opportunity to get to spend that time together. So it was a positive thing, you know.
Yeah.
Then we have
Positive.
the yeah, yeah. Then we have the flip side, and
We
I'm
do
sure
have the
that you
flip
probably saw
side.
it. Now you both are global relationship strategists, and you've been talking to people about different aspects of relationships. So what did your clientele begin to look like, or what did you see start to change? Was there a shift in what people were requiring or what people were asking? Or tell me a little bit more about what you do as globalist relationship strategists so that we can kind of better see how the pendulum swung on that.
Well, one thing we had to do after the quarantine started was start talking to people about being more creative now that you're around each other more than usual. We
Hmm.
had to start giving them ideas on how to be more affectionate,
Right.
how to be more creative with their intimacy, how to be more considerate when giving each other private time. So our clientele didn't change, but the questions that were presented to us, they
Right.
became a little bit more challenging, and we actually started doing more virtual um, presentations because of the quarantine.
Right.
But those presentations actually turned out to be good for us and our clients because
Right.
they was able to reach us on more of a personal level, even though it was virtual.
Right.
So it was weird, but
Yeah.
we got to know more about them because of this quarantine. So
Right.
yeah, it helped us, and it was something good for our clients as well.
Awesome.
You got
You know,
anything?
No, I just
Ed?
think I know when the quarantine first happened, one of the biggest things that we wanted to really put out there for couples and for anyone who's dating, or just for that home, because you got to think about the family stability as well in the whole dynamic. And it was, really making sure that individuals were prioritizing what was really important.
Mhm.
And yes, even though you being in the hospitality industry, my first thought was, okay, we're either going to have a lot of divorces or we're going to have a lot of
that's right.
marriages, one or the
That's
other.
right.
And the divorce is going to come from, again, the hospitality industry. I see a lot of, individuals traveling, right? So they're never home. They come into the hotel week after week after week. They check in on Sunday, they check out on Thursday, and they're not home with their family. So
Right.
now they're having to share that space. And the question becomes, wow, do we even know how to share a space at this point?
Right.
Right.
Maybe we did 20 years before I started this job, 20 years ago, but now do we really know how to share that space? But not forgetting that you have to reconnect with how to share that space. But now you got to work on what those important things are. As far as I know, one of the things we really stressed was like life insurance, right?
Yes,
Making
we
sure
did
that
it.
people were thinking about, well, what are those important things that need to get done? Pay your life insurance up, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
that's important for the family, right? You don't want to go into a pandemic and then you can't afford your life insurance.
Right.
Have those conversations about what needs to happen, the difficult conversations, you
Right.
know, and that I really feel like having those difficult conversations can help reconnect you in ways that you
Yes.
don't think it can.
Right. Right.
So
And
we
I
did,
mean,
we took the time to we did a Facebook Live
mhm,
talking about the life insurance and other things that should be prioritized. And we also did a podcast addressing some of the concerns that our clients have been asking us, because we felt we should share that information with everyone. You know, the
right.
things that our clients had asked us. We felt we
Mhm.
should do a podcast and share that information with everyone. So we did two specific things to try to help people, adjust to this new normal.
Right.
Now, now that I think about that, I think that our clientele might have shifted just a little bit during that time frame when we
Why you
started
say
talking
that?
about those priorities, because we started getting a lot of individuals who were more so dating and trying to figure out how to date
We
during the
did.
pandemic.
That's right.
Oh,
We
And
did.
that is
Yes.
what really shifted us, quite a bit during the pandemic, because when we started talking about those type of things, we
right.
had a lot of, probably I would say mostly women,
We did. We
mostly
had an increase
women.
in women
Okay.
coming to us or contacting us and asking us dating questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we took all the things that we were talking about for couples
Hmm.
and tweaked them, adjusted them a little bit, so that we can give some advice to women who are trying to adjust to virtual dating.
Right. Because I can imagine it's a whole lot of different aspects of relationships, because just like you said, you have the couples who are trying to navigate through being in each other's space, and like you said, trying to give each other
Mhm.
personal space. And then, of course, we gotta, toss the kids in there too, because the kids,
Gotta talk,
yeah,
Mhm.
gotta talk to kids.
yes. And so now, you've got the kids coming in, and then, you're talking about having intimate moments, and you're talking about kids being there all the time, and you're talking about everyone's schedule being off. So I can imagine, the how that even looks. I'm an empty nester now, but you know, my husband and I are here. My adult daughter is here, but now I've got a little grandbaby who runs around. My daughter happened to move back shortly. I mean, before the pandemic, so she's here, and yes, it changes the whole dynamic of
Yeah.
how things
Yeah,
function. So yeah,
I will say that I had to personally step back and remember that, okay, I'm working the office things even though I'm home. I'm so I want to be there for the kids as far as like school, and everything is virtual now. And I
yeah,
think for me that was the most difficult part for me, because I'm like, well, what's going on with them today? Well, why are they over here and not doing this today? I'm trying to remember that he's really in control of this.
right, right,
And
right,
so me even asking questions is like interrupting their process. But
right.
then I'm getting irritable because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But then I had to step back and say, okay, it's okay that you don't know. It's okay that you don't know. Just go back to what you were supposed to be doing.
Right. You see, that's the beauty of us being coaches, just like you said, because we're still living life right along with everyone else. And there are still things that we're going to experience. And as we navigate and figure out how to do things and to do them effectively, then we can, relay that same information to those who we're serving as well. So it's beautiful in that we're able to do that, because just like you said, you come home. When I was working here from home before I went back to the office myself, I have my office space. Everybody knows that when that door was closed,
That's right.
I don't want you to see a toenail cross that door frame. You know what I'm saying? Until I'm done. And when I open the door, then you can all come and attack me. My grandbaby was right at the door. Hey, Nana, what you doing? Hey, what's going on? She's right there, waiting for me to open that door. But she knew not to come in, because we have to set boundaries. So let's talk a little
Mhm.
bit about that, about boundaries, because I'm sure that that's something that you have to set when you're talking about, like you said, personal space, being able to function. One thing that you said earlier, Anton, is you talked about harmony. And I love that, because to me, it's not about balance sometimes where it's either or. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
about that harmony of figuring out how to make that whole thing, flow, because
Mhm.
it's
Right.
not always going to be black and white. There's going to be a whole lot of gray, and we're going to ride that wave, and
Yep.
that's where it does. So talk to me a little bit about, how you help, your clients with that, with that whole aspect of trying to, you know, get that space, get that space, or
that
get that
harmonious space.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that we tell our clients is it's very important to understand your role in the relationship.
Yeah.
And not only understand it, but know when you need to stay in your place and when you need to step out of it and help your partner out. So by telling them that, we help them to understand how to establish that harmony, because by knowing your role, you'll do what you're supposed to do, and be aware of what your partner is doing, but let them do it. Don't try to intervene. But then also the other side of that would be, if you see your partner needs assistance, you don't be ignorant and just stay in your place. You help out when you can. In doing that, that helps it helps maintain the harmony. When it comes to disagreements, it helps with that also, because both of you can say, I did my part. I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So let's sit down and discuss what the real issue is. Because if both of us did what we were supposed to do, there must have been something else that occurred.
Going on.
Right. So let's sit down and talk about that, knowing that both of us did what we were supposed to do. So yeah, that's something that we share with our clients. Did you have anything you want to add?
And I think on the other side, talking about sitting down and finding out the real issue, one of the things that, and actually it was introduced to me from my husband, because I'm not really sure that I even thought about it in that manner prior to. And it's when we're having those issues, it's really because we do have kids. It's not what is in this, what is it about this for me? It's like, what do we do in the next step for everybody that's involved in this relationship? Because it's not just us in the relationship, it's the kids in the relationship.
Right.
So when we make those decisions, we have to ask ourselves that question, right? What's best for everybody involved?
Right.
That's one of the most important questions that anyone should ask themselves if they're involved in a relationship, that is.
Yeah.
Am I doing what's best for everyone involved?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If the answer is no, then you need to rethink what you're about to do.
That's it.
I feel like,
it's very important that you know that.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing I know when I'm working with the women specifically, because one of the things we like to do is really break the couples apart for a minute.
Yeah.
And get him with the men and get me with the women. But one thing I try to help the women understand is really being in control of your emotions.
Yes.
Because when you're not in control of your emotions, we as women just let things fly. And so a lot of times we think about that, okay, well, that doesn't work for me, but does it work for everybody? Right. Because right now you're only thinking about yourself and your own personal happiness, which is great. You want to be happy, but can you be happy with everyone else being happy too?
Right.
And being honest and real with yourself. So really trying to release those emotions, that emotional side of us as women, because we're just emotional. And I say it's kind of sad sometimes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I bet.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is. But we try to tell them that it's okay to be emotional.
Yeah.
But don't be so emotional to where you lose control of who you are.
Right.
That's what we don't want you to
Yeah.
do. So we try and tell them, just be less emotional, but don't be emotionless.
Right.
Right.
That's a huge difference.
Because there's a difference with that.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, and that's the thing. I think it's been difficult for people to, a lot of people had to look in the mirror at themselves, and it's very hard to come to terms with some things that you have to work on, and then you've got to incorporate, trying to figure out that, okay, there are some things that I need to change about myself. And now I have this person over here to remind me of everything that I was doing before. And well, why are you changing now to do this? And I'm sure that that's a difficult part too, because it's like, okay, you have a new attitude now. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why all of a sudden you meditate? All of a sudden you lighting candles, because now everybody's spiritual and everybody's starting to, they're getting stage and they want to do all of these things. And, some people are coming into themselves, or they've had a time to really say, okay, I'm doing something different. And then their partners look at them like, well, what the heck happened to you? And I'm sure that's difficult too. It's like how, being in a space to be able to support. you
Yeah,
know?
and it's funny that you brought that up because I do recall at one point, I'm not even sure if it was just before the pandemic or during the pandemic, but at one point we were both going through some individual growth, and still trying to, be there for one another.
Yeah.
But I think when you mention something about boundaries, I think it's really important that that everyone understands that you're always going to have your own personal growth.
Right.
You should
Mhm.
have your own personal growth because
That's
you
right.
should always be striving to be better the
Absolutely.
next day than you were the day before. But you're going to have times in your life as you grow, you hear people say, I'm not the same person I was then. No, because you've grown. But what happens is there's that lack of communication that you're going through it. And for us, we didn't have to specifically say, this is what my personal growth is about. This is what my personal growth is about. It was, we're both going through this and we need to give each other time and be patient with one another because we don't know what is going to be communicated during this time as we're going through this personal growth, and having those
Right.
boundaries to respect one another through that process is very important because it was very difficult for both of us. We were both, I mean, I was struggling like, I don't know what's going on right
Right.
now,
Right.
right? And I couldn't articulate it either, but to be fair and honest to my partner, it was, guess what? I can't really articulate this. I just need you to trust that I'm going through something and
Right.
we've got to be patient with one another.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely want your input on this, Anton, because it just as a man, sometimes it's difficult when you're going through something. Men want to come in, they want to help, they want to support, they don't want to appear to be weak, and we have seen women who have emasculated men and made them feel that they were not, that they're subpar, and I know that that's got to be difficult when you're going through something and you're wanting to, express yourself, but you're not wanting to appear weak. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so talk to me about that. How do you talk to the men about that so that way they're, able to express themselves?
Well, fellas, one of the best things you can do when you're trying to be supportive for your partner is shut up and listen to her. That's the most easiest thing you can do. Well, maybe I shouldn't say easy because for some guys it may not be easy, but
Right.
it's something that doesn't require a lot of effort. Just be quiet and listen to her. She's not always going to need your input because sometimes she's just trying to get it out, whatever it is that's bothering her. She's just trying to get it out of her mind and say it out loud so that she can hear herself saying it. And then she starts processing it after she hears herself say it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to always respond, but if you're just there to listen to her when she wants to talk, that'll make a huge difference in her growth.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, I should say this: when she says that she has something to talk about, don't try to dig deeper into what she's telling you.
Right.
Take it for what she's saying. If
Right.
she says she's not really sure what's going on, don't try asking her questions to try to get her to
Mm-hmm.
explain what's going on. Just take it for what it is. She's not sure what's going on.
Right.
Be quiet and let her talk.
I love that. I love that. That's a good
That's all I
response.
did. I didn't do anything magical. I didn't do any chakra work, no meditation or anything. I just took my time, listened to my wife, and played my part to be
Yeah.
that shoulder for her to lean on and that ear to listen to her.
Yeah, and I agree
Yeah.
because, when we're going through that process where we're like, okay, we really don't know what's going on. And Kim, you may be able to relate again as coaches. It's like sometimes just talking it out, it
Yes.
starts to make sense to you,
Yes.
right? But having everything in your head going on at one time,
That's
you
right.
really don't know what's going on up there until you can write it out on a piece of paper. You can see it
Right.
visually, or you get it out there and it's actually coming out of your mouth that you really don't know what's going on instead of
Right.
saying in your head, I don't know what's going on. It's
Right.
it's such a totally different feeling, and just having someone there to listen. And yes, if a woman wants your perspective, she will ask. I do believe
That's right.
that.
That's
Mhm.
right.
She will ask you, but I will say this: if she asks, then yes, give it to her.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Give
Not
it
only
to
that,
her.
Right.
if you don't have anything to say, don't sit there trying to think of something to
Yeah,
say. Just let her know, I really don't know what to
and
say
be
right now.
honest
Just
about
be
it.
honest.
Right.
It's better for you to just be honest and let her know that you don't have anything to share at that moment instead
Right.
of trying to make up something just to
Right.
make it seem like you're being supportive. You're being
Right.
supportive just by being open and honest with her.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So start at that goes to you with regards to Anton. How it's difficult. Like I said, the men don't want to appear vulnerable. So how do you support him in the changes that he's going through?
For me, it's really about giving him his space. He specifically for him, he's a very analytical thinker. And sometimes I can't even like comprehend sometimes with him. I have to like take
I
a
have one
couple
of
of
those.
hits, right? But for him, he's very analytical, and being able to give him his space and allow him that space. Again, knowing that we have children, right? I have to take myself out of that because I'm a nurturer. So I'm like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Is everything, are you good? You look like something is wrong. And even now, sometimes I still get, yeah, I'll still do it. And, he'll be like, I'm good. but
Right.
but being able to take that and not get upset about it or feel some kind of way about it, because initially I did. I'm like, but I'm just trying to help.
Right.
But it's really allowing him his space to think, because I don't know if it's that way for most men, but I know for him it's really just giving him his space, taking the kids away from the house. Again, like you said, when he goes into that room and closes that door, everyone in the house knows, and our kids understand the role aspect as well.
Right.
Everybody knows their role in this house. When that door is closed, you don't knock on that door unless it's an emergency.
Right.
You know who to go to because something is going on in that room where that person needs that time in that space,
Yeah.
right? And then when he's ready, he comes to me and what helps me is that he's very open and tells me
Right.
what is happening after he's gone through his days of thought process.
Right.
And I think for me, that's what helps me as a woman because we want to know everything, right?
Right.
I ain't trying to check you, but I want to know everything because that's just who I am,
Right.
right? I
Right.
just want to know. And I want to make sure that you're good because you're my husband.
Right.
You're the man in this family, and this is who everyone is looking to right now. So are you good? Because if you're good, we're all good, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
giving him his space and really putting that in place has been really good for us.
See, and that's wonderful, because it's funny, my parents have been married. July will be 54 years. They've been together since my mom was 14 and my dad was 17. When they met, she was a coat check at a little dance that they went to back in Harlem, and the rest is
Wow.
history. But the one thing that I remember, and it's so funny when you mentioned closing that door as a child. Now, my parents didn't use the belt too often because, like I said, I was obedient. Okay, you didn't have to tell me but one good time. But they used to take the belt, and I think it's just because the door wouldn't stay fastened. So they would just stick their belt in the door and push the door shut. And you just knew you better not go to that door. The house better be on fire.
That's right.
before you go and knock on that door, something better be going on. That was You just knew that was their space. They set that boundary. It wasn't like, if you come through this door, we're gonna knock you out or anything like that. But we just knew that was their
That's
space.
right.
They needed that space. We set that boundary. So I love that you talk about that. You talk about setting boundaries. You talk about having communication. You talk about having harmony because it is about having a relationship and knowing that there are going to be different intricacies and it's going to be different for each and every person. There's no hard and fast way that people are going to be able to do things outside of just communicating with one another. So I love that you both
Yeah.
gave your perspective on
And I wanted to add one other thing. It's also about not being judgmental.
that.
Because your partner is going, especially when you're going through changes, there's going to be things said you might be really confused as to what they're saying, but you can't be judgmental about it because they're still going through that thought process. And if they want you to help them navigate it, that's your role as their spouse to help them navigate that. not to be judgmental in their thought process, no matter how crazy it may sound to you.
Right.
You know, because if they're not understanding it, then you're definitely not understanding it. You're only having your own assumption and perspective on it.
Right.
You know, and
You
it's
don't want
not
to
really what
project.
it is or what it may be. So I think really keeping the judgmental part away from it, that really helps when you're going through that.
And it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
It's
Because
not easy.
Nope.
they're confused and you're confused.
Right.
And you're like, what the heck?
What's going on?
You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
Not easy at all.
But
I think one thing that helps with not being the obstacle in your partner's growth
gotcha.
is remembering that the two of you have come together to help each other live a better life.
Right.
And by remembering that, it helps you to kind of, be supportive when you really don't want, I shouldn't say when you don't want to, but when you feel like you want to be to yourself.
Right.
It helps you to step outside of your own wants and needs and say, okay, my mate needs me. Let me be there because I agreed to this. And
Right.
part of that agreement is I'm going to be there to help her with her personal growth. I'm going to be there when she's feeling weak. I'm going to be there to help her become the best version of herself. All of that comes with that agreement. All of that is a part of maintaining the harmony.
Yeah.
It will only happen though if both of you understand that all of that comes with it, and both of you are doing whatever is necessary to maintain that growth.
Right.
One thing that we make sure we do is always focus on change. We embrace change because we know it's always going to happen.
Right.
We can't escape it, right? We can't escape change.
Right.
So we embrace it. We say, okay, well, this is probably going to change some things, or things are probably going to be different, but we're ready for it. Whatever is going to change, we're going to face it together, and we're going to continue to grow.
And when you're there when you are saying that you are going to be there physically and mentally for someone, I really have to throw this out here and we can move on. Put the telephone down.
Hallelujah. Say it again.
Put the phone down because you are not listening actively.
Right.
Put the phone down. Turn it off. If you have to turn it all the way off just for those 10 or 15 minutes to make sure that you're completely focused, put it down and turn it off, because that is one of the worst things that is a hindrance in relationships now.
It's like the other man or the other woman because there's so much time with it. You're like, what happened to me?
It is. Right. So put the phone down. Put the technology away.
I love
it's not going anywhere.
I love that. You both said, I was gonna say you both said something vital because Anton, when you were talking about being a part of that person's growth, that is so important. Like you said, when you took your vows to love each other, you did that, and part of that is growth. It's not that you want that person to stay stagnant and to stay the way they are. You love them the way they are, but just like you said, you want to also experience the best version of that person. So you do want to help them through that. So I love that you made that point, because it is important that I'm supporting you in your growth and what that looks like. And that I know that it's going to be better, not just for you, but it's going to be better for the both of us. So I love that you said that, and then I love Starr, that you talked about, like you said, putting that technology down and don't create barriers that are going to keep you from seeing those verbal and those physical cues that people are giving, because you got your face in the phone or you got your face in the TV all the time. You miss things. You miss being present. And that's what being in the now is all about. Being in that space right now, being in that presence right now. And you touched on it so perfectly when you talked about that. It's definitely a matter of that harmony. I mean, if there's anything that I'm going to take away from what we talked about, is that, yes, that harmony is what's important, and being able to communicate that to the person that you're with.
Yes, it is. But it's not just the emotional and intellectual harmony. It's the physical harmony is just as important. But you will be most effective in executing the physical harmony if you, like Kim just said, you stay in the now. It help by doing that. It helps you to pay attention to your partner. It helps you with seeing opportunities for intimacy with your partner, even if it's just taking a moment to do some really, you know, sloppy tongue kissing. I don't know if that's what you like, but
All
you
right
know that those type of things are what brought the two of you together to
right
begin with. So you have
right
to continue to do those things, booty smacks and kisses on the cheeks and
yes
I don't know, squeezing body parts that you haven't touched in
Touching
a
a
long
while.
time.
all
You,
right hey
you
now
have to
okay
you have to continue to do those things, but if you keep your attention in the now, it will help make those moments, it will help you to execute in those moments a whole lot easier because you'll see the opportunity and you'll say, wow, you know what, I think I'm just gonna walk over there to her and just give her a kiss on her neck and
yeah.
watch her shiver,
That's
as I
it
kiss her down to her shoulders. But like I said, that's just as important. That type of harmony is just as important
right
as the emotional harmony.
Mhm.
You've got to
yes
you've got to get, I should say, continue being your partner's uh, stimulant
right
for pleasure, just as you were when y'all first met.
right
You've got to continue that part of the harmony as well.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one because you know, I think when we I think we were all getting to a space where we were so busy passing each other, just like you said, you don't get that little fleeing and you're like, all right, let me see, I gotta go, I'm all right, see you later. Everybody's
Right.
going on about their business, and you forget about the intimacy. And that's definitely, like you said, a part of the harmony. You want to be able to remember, what it's like to be touched. Some people, who live by themselves, find it difficult. They miss human touch. There are a lot of us, in this pandemic, like myself. I'm a hugger, and so I was like, "What you mean I can't hug anybody?" I was like, "What
Right.
is happening?" Sometimes, it's them good old hugs that you get, and you're just like, "Yes," and that's all you
Yeah.
needed to help you get through the day. But it's a matter of loving on yourself too. Sometimes you got to give yourself a hug, but it's nice when your partner, especially if you've been together for years and years, like you said, taps you on the bottom or, cradles their hand in the small of your back, okay? And just
Hmm.
lets you know that, hey, I'm still here for you. I still find you attractive. I still
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that you still stimulate me, like you said. You want that. And so,
Mhm.
y'all are touching on some stuff here. We can talk on and on and on. But what I do want to do is talk about how, through this pandemic, you've talked about some of the things that you all are doing, talking to one another, communicating, talking about those important things, like you said, about life insurance and paperwork. It's definitely an ideal time to talk about things like that because you want to make sure that you're you know, connecting and communicating those things. So in case anything happens, we have to be realistic. There are people who have lost their partners as a result of this pandemic, and it's been difficult. So we want there to be that level of connection. So in case something should happen, you may be tasked with the you may be tasked to take care of your loved one
Right.
Right.
or to be so you want there to be that connection, you want there to be those conversations that are had to make sure that that should anything happen, this is what we're going to do. We have a game plan.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's one of
So
the best ways you can show. I'm sorry for cutting you off,
no, no,
but
no.
that's one of the best ways that you can show your partner that you really love them and you care about them is by making sure that things like life insurance is taken care of, financial investments are in place. Those things are not only important while you're alive, but after you depart.
Right.
That's one excellent way to show your partner, hey, I love you, I care about you, and to show you that I love you and care about you, we're going to put these things in place so that
Mhm.
if one of us goes before the other, the one
Everything
who's
is
still
good.
here, you'll still be good.
Right.
You'll still be stable, and
Right.
I'll be able to go on about my business knowing that you're stable.
That's it. That's it. I love that. I love that. Okay, so talk to me now as we get ready to close things out about, how you're living in the now, individually and as a couple. Let's do it that way.
Oh, well,
Mhm.
in the now, well, I'm individually, I'm working on being more creative
Mhm.
because I'm realizing that I'm not the tech savvy person that I thought I was.
Mhm.
So I'm getting away from that and being more. I'm sorry, focusing more on my creative skills.
Okay.
So being a visionary, I have to embrace the fact that I have to step away from what I'm trying to force myself to do
Mhm.
so that I can focus on what I'm naturally capable of doing.
Nice.
And so in doing that, I'm as an individual, I'm making my now better.
Right.
As a couple, I would say we're still moving forward.
Right.
That's been one of our mottos, since we got together. Keep moving forward,
And
regardless of whatever happens. We're going to keep moving forward.
yeah, and as a couple, one of the things that we always do is we posted it. I don't know if we posted it or not, but we do an annual vision board,
Uh-huh.
where we
Yeah, you
work,
posted it.
we do the vision board for us as a couple so we know what we're always working on. And so just now is being able to continuously reevaluate those things on that vision board
Mhm.
and bringing it more and closer into perspective and remembering that, COVID has really said to us that this job is not guaranteed,
Right.
right? There's
Right.
things we know, but reality hits, right?
Right.
So this is not guaranteed. This is not guaranteed. What are we going to continue to do as a couple to make sure that we're still stable, right? So working together on that is really the biggest thing, and continuously, I would say we're probably reevaluating more than we normally would.
Right.
We always reevaluate throughout the year, but this has been like a monthly reevaluation, that normal quarterly reevaluation. It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
every month we're looking like, okay, where are we at with this? Because this is real. Like, where are we at? And we have these kids. We got to make sure everything is on point and good if something were to happen to us.
Right.
And again, continuously having those difficult conversations,
Yeah.
because things are happening around us. If we see something happen to somebody else, we're like, man, if that happens to us, what are we going to do? Talk about it now. It's
Right.
hard. It's
Yes.
hard having those conversations. It
Yes.
might bring tears and emotions, but it will be less difficult if it were to happen
Mm-hmm.
Right.
then for you to talk about it now and get it out of the way. You're just lessening a little bit of that pain that you're going to feel to have to go through that when
Right.
you can't think clearly in the
Right.
process of it actually happening.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right. That's right.
um,
But that all of that supports our motto of keep moving forward.
yeah,
We prepare so that when those difficult times come, we can continue advancing, knowing that okay, we're in it. That thing that we talked about 6 months ago,
Right.
well, right now we're in it. So
Right.
let's execute that small plan that we put in place when we were discussing it. And
Mm-hmm.
so then that allows us to just continue going forward.
yeah. And I think for me individually, I am personally working on more continuing education.
Okay.
Just trying to really see where I can get more information about anything at this point. Honestly, like what else is out there for me to learn?
Right.
Connecting with more people and really trying to rebuild some of those connections with people who I know are having difficult times,
Yeah.
and not forgetting those people who I know are having difficult times and reaching out to them, because there are a lot of silent people right now because they
Yeah.
don't want to ask for help, and just making sure people know, yes, I may be busy, but I'm available
Right.
somewhere, somehow. Don't know how until you ask, but I'm
That's right.
here and I'm available, and just asking, are you okay? Because some people just won't even speak unless you ask.
That's
So
right.
really trying to be there for other people, through the means of what I can do, and just continuing to work on what I can do to better myself
Yeah.
individually.
Yes. I
Anything,
love that.
you
I
know.
love that. And that's how you guys are living in the now. So for people who want to know how to get in contact with you all so they can talk about working some of these things out. What are some ways that they can get in contact with you guys?
Absolutely. So you can find us at our website, which is clayborncoaching.com. You can also email us at info@clayborncoaching. If text is better for you, we have no problem with text. That's 678-835-8102. And you can find us on all of our social media platforms at Clayborn Coaching, as well as Love, Marriage, Fantasy.
Okay. And when does your podcast air?
That is going to be February
2nd. February 2nd.
First Tuesday in February.
Yes, the first Tuesday in February. It airs on Tuesday. So
every Tuesday.
We're
Tuesday.
launching season 2 the first Tuesday in February 2021.
Very good. So you guys make sure that you listen out for their podcast as well. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for being with me, for coming and talking about relationships and giving us some wonderful nuggets, and to talk about that harmony and to talk about those tough talks that we have to have that are going to help us to successfully, navigate in this space that we're in right now. So like I said, I love you guys. Y'all keep on loving each other.
Absolutely.
and we look forward to listening to your show and to connecting with you, and keep on living in the now. And so that is our show. Do you have any other parting words for our listeners before you go? Any parting words?
You have anything?
First thing comes to my mind, everything happens for a reason. So, and try to leave your perspective out and find out the truth. Just the real things, like what's really going on.
Truth. And in that truth, find love.
Yes.
Anything, find love. And like I said, we're gonna just keep on loving on each other. How about that? We'll start there.
Yes, keep on loving on each other.
All right. And so that will end. That will conclude another episode of How Now, where we talk about how to live in the now. You guys take care of yourselves and each other. And until the next time we meet, I say peace.
Peace.